everyone, and welcome back to another Marvel Crisis Protocol battle report for the channel. And today for you we have 17 threat of the Criminal Syndicate versus, for the first time in a while we've seen them, the Guardians of the Galaxy. Got the table already set up, so we'll go over the crews, their tactics cards and the objectives that are already placed down as well. And then just jump into getting started. Behold your etceteras. The Guardians of the Galaxy, 17 threat as said, being led by Quill. Then we have Rocket and Groot. Then we also have Gamora, and with the Power Gem, which gives essentially 2 extra power, because normally just having the Infinity Stone gives you 1, the Power Stone gives you 1 on top of that. So Ronan will be getting 3 power in the power phase. And the tactics cards being taken by the Guardians: Lovable Misfits, We Are Groot, Deadly Duo, Crew of the Milano, and Advanced R&D. And the Criminal Syndicate crew, otherwise known as Legitimate Business Incorporated, being led by Wilson Fisk. We have Enchantress, who's just tagging along. We have Crossbones, we have Bullseye, and finally we have Taskmaster. And then the cards they are taking: Brace for Impact, Reversal, All According to Plan, Shadow Organization, and Cruelty. The extraction mission being played today is Skrulls Infiltrate World Leadership. So there's 3 decoys, you interact with them, roll 2 dice. If you get a crit, you have found the Skrull agent, the other decoys are removed from the battlefield, and you get 2 victory points if you're holding the Skrull agent in the cleanup phase. And you only move small if you're holding him. The secure is Deadly Meteors Mutate Civilians, so that's the 3 origin bombs. You score 3 victory points if you hold the most origin bombs in the cleanup phase. And this is obviously good for Criminal Syndicate, the secure objectives, because they count all healthy characters as 2. But you have to roll equal to or greater than, just greater than, the energy defense of any enemies around the objectives. Also, if you contain a skull in the roll to attempt to control the origin bomb, you suffer 1 damage, and those are already in the map. They should be overlaid with each other, but they're not, just so we know where they are for the purposes of the map. The origin bombs are in the correct locations, the civilians are just kind of placed to the side. So there, and there. And with that, we'll get the crews set up, see who's on which side of the table, and who's going first. So everything is set up and we're good to go. It will be the Guardians deployed on your left and Organised Crime on, Criminal Syndicate on your right, and it is the Criminal Syndicate going first. We have Crossbones, Taskmaster and Kingpin all together here. Bullseye in front of this watchtower, and then Enchantress off on her lonesome over there. And then conversely we have Gamora up there with Rocket and Groot, and then we have Star-Lord down there with Ronan. So everything is set to go. We're going into battle round 1. So Enchantress got the game started, but such as it is, battle round 1, normally she double moved for her activation. She spent her 1 power to try and discover the Skrull agent and was not able to roll a crit. Does put her in a bit of a precarious situation, assuming that some of the Guardians go for attacks rather than converting objectives, but we shall see. Ronan the Accuser activated and also double medium moved to get over to the origin bomb / innocent civilian that might be a Skrull. He accused them of being a Skrull, but did not get the crit required, and as a result just wasted 1 of his power and is doing nothing else. Bullseye activated, he also double moved to where you can see him, so he's just within 1 of there, and remember that's technically supposed to be on top of the origin bomb, it's just like that so you can see where they are. He spent his power to try and find the Skrull agent, he double critted on his 2 roll, and as a result he has found the Skrull agent. So it's now on his person. The other decoys disappear, and it does say they disappear, unlike that 1 new objective card that doesn't. So they're gone now, and it's just down, oh, I knocked the origin bomb a little bit, it's just down to the origin bombs now for the rest of the scoring. Gamora was up next. She double moved for her activation to get up to this origin bomb that's contested by Enchantress. She risked trying to convert it because there's no one else on the enemy team that would get to it, which did mean that every result on her energy defense roll, which is 3, had to be a hit because Enchantress is counting as 2 healthy characters right now. Sadly it was 2 out of 3, so that is not enough. The origin bomb stays neutral, and I mean maybe Rocket or Groot could get there potentially, but they'd have, well no, I think both of them have 2 energy defense. Yeah they do, they can't do it. They're going to have to take out Enchantress first. That's an interesting problem. Getting to some of the slower moving characters now. Kingpin activated and just had to double short move to put himself in a position between the 2 origin bombs there. He's got his Beam 3 Cane Laser he could potentially use, and also he's kind of bodyguarding Bullseye as well, now that Bullseye is holding the Skrull agent. Well, there was a little attempt at bloodshed. Next, when Rocket activated, he moved up medium, hopped the wall because it's the same height as him, and then he fired his plasma rifle at Enchantress, who obviously gets to use her Mystic Defense for anything unless you're willing to spend 2 extra power, which he does not have. So she easily blocked it, although his attack roll was terrible, so the fact she had a bunch of extra dice was not that relevant. Taskmaster activated and he double medium moved into the centre with the Origin Bomb right smack dab next to Bullseye. He spent 1 power to interact, and he did convert the Origin Bomb with ease because there's no enemies to contest. He did, however, roll a skull in the roll, so along with converting it, he did damage himself for 1 damage. So Quill, Star-Lord activated, he double medium moved and has ended up next to this Origin Bomb. He technically should be a little bit further back, but there's no way to measure him there or, position him on the corner of the foot. But he would still have been within 1, so he's just placed on the far side, but just so that's clear. He spent his power to interact with the Origin Bomb with no contesting enemies. Blank, skull, skull was the roll, so as long as you roll at least 1 skull, you take 1 damage, which he did. And more importantly, he didn't convert the Origin Bomb. It doesn't seem likely Groot's going to, but we're over to Crossbones to end the first turn for the Criminal Syndicate. So because he moves slow and hasn't been shot at, perhaps unsurprisingly, all Crossbones did was double small move, and that put him roughly there. Obviously out of range to do anything with the Origin Bomb, but he's on his way to cause a mess in the middle next turn. So it's over to Groot to end off battle round 1. And all the Tree Man himself could do was just double small move and do the same as Crossbones essentially. Got close, different angle though, he had to come in from the side to that Origin Bomb and Enchantress, but that does hopefully mean they're in a strong enough position to perhaps do damage to her next time. So that does mean we're in scoring for the first battle round. So thanks to the Criminal Syndicate having the most Origin Bombs at 1 of 3, because the other 2 are still neutral, and also having the Skrull Agent, they're the only ones to score this battle round. It is 3 for having majority on the Origin Bombs center, and just using the Hydra icon because there's no Criminal Syndicate icon, and the Skrull Agent gives 2. So as we go into battle round 2 with the Criminal Syndicate going first again, it is 5-0. So Enchantress got battle round 2 started, however a correction, well not a correction, an omission from turn 1. She starts with 2 power because she's an Asgardian, so there was no reason she couldn't have tried to convert the Origin Bomb. It obviously made no difference to the score because Criminal Syndicate took all the points, but it was something she could have done, just totally forgot. Anyway, she did in this turn make use of the fact that, speaking of forgetting things, Groot and Rocket are within 2, but the bodyguard thing is within 1. Whoops. So she enthralled for 3 power onto poor Rocket. He did okay with his defense rolls, but 3 damage still got through, and he is weak when it comes to HP. So actually, no, never mind, I forgot he counts as having cover, so that would be 2 damage, because the cover would take away 1. So never mind, he is actually alive on 1 hit. In that case, she might just normally hit him then, which would mean she's... yeah, we're going to have to do a reset of her second action, because her second action was she retreated to hold to the middle. Forgot he always counts as having cover, but she can still do a basic attack from where she was standing to finish him off. Yeah, so resetted time and redid her second activation, so she did not move medium into the centre. She instead did her Beam 3 Spurned Affection, which as it turns out was a smarter play anyway, because Groot is also weak to energy. So he took 3 damage from her Spurned Affection, and Rocket took an additional 2, which is more than enough to have the daze still be the thing that happens, so that didn't change. Gamora took 1 because the Beam 3 right down the middle caught all 3 of them. So first up for the Guardians of the Galaxy this turn is going to be Ronan. However, a Tactics card was played, so we're just going to cover that first before doing his actual activation. Lovable Misfits was played. Everyone who is conscious, so everyone except Rocket, paid 1 power. You roll a die for them, and then depending on the symbol they get, it means they can do something different. So Ronan got a crit, Star-Lord got a wild, and unfortunately Groot and Gamora both got a skull. So the the crit and the wild just means that Star-Lord and Ronan can make a free 0 cost power attack that costs 0, which they'll both probably do, or they can gain 2 power. They're going to make the free 0 attack, so we'll cover that and then go into Ronan's normal turn. And the only other symbol that matters is the skull. If a skull was rolled, that character and all other characters within 2 are stunned. So Gamora, Groot and Enchantress are all stunned. So we'll now cover their 0 cost attacks against whomever they choose to hit, and then we'll get into Ronan's turn properly. This is their chance to turn things around despite the 2 skull results. We'll see though. So So here's the outcome of the free attacks from Star-Lord and Ronan. Star-Lord uses element guns. Ronan used his element, or universal weapon, sorry, which is his ranged beam attack, sorry, not beam attack, energy attack. So they were both doing energy. They both decided to go straight into Kingpin. Star-Lord did 2 damage. Ronan did really well and did 4 damage. And now he actually gets to take his normal turn. So for his actual activations, Ronan spent 1 power to convert this origin bomb and succeeded because Crossbones is over there. He then moved into within one of the middle and then attempted to convert that one, failed because there's technically 4 there, but then he did universal weapon again on Kingpin. It did 1 damage. He could only have reduced 1 down to a minimum of 1, so he didn't do it because it wouldn't make a difference. It was enough to bring him to dazed status, so he also isn't getting a turn this activation, and it is back over to the Criminal Syndicate. So Crossbones was the next up. He moved small next to this origin bomb. He spent 3 power on an overpower on poor Quill, and the roll was fantastic. It was ridiculously good, including a wild for a throw. He did 4 damage, he had 1 on him that took him to 5. The throw impact though finished him off with 1 damage. Quill is dazed and will not be getting a turn. The downside is he has no power left to attempt to convert this origin bomb, so that's staying under the Guardian's control, but every roll is going the Criminal Syndicate's way. This is pretty nasty. Groot activated and spent 2 power to heal himself for 3, so he's back to full health, so there is that. Then he did 2 of his basic strikes on Enchantress, who I feel like I called Angela at least once. Either way, he attacked Enchantress within range 2 and just could not get through her defense. The rolls are just, they're leaning one way and it isn't in the Guardian's way. Taskmaster activated next, and he tried a basic attack on Ronan, and finally a dice roll didn't go in their favour because it whiffed. Well, it almost went through, but his defence was more than adequate. So then he moved within 1 of this origin bomb. He spent his 1 power he had and he claimed it. So that is 2 claimed by the Criminal Syndicate, 1 is neutral, not claimed by anyone, and it's still not looking good for the Guardians. It's also over to Gamora to end off their turn, and then back over to Bullseye. Plus side of that is it does mean Guardians will be getting first activation in Battle Round 3, but big oof as far as the way this is going. So rather than try and get through Enchantress's, almost called her Angela again, and get through her defense and not having the power to force her to use her bad defenses, Gamora moved medium to where you can see her. She did a basic attack on Bullseye because he is holding the scroll after all. Did 2 damage through to him. He then spent power to do parting shot but opted not to move and hit her for 1 damage. Totally also forgot to mention, but the damage was sitting there. When Taskmaster converted that bomb, he did have a skull in his roll, so he took 1 damage from that. And it is over to Bullseye to end off Battle Round 2. So for Bullseye's turn, I keep on wanting to call Deadshot, I'm playing too much Batman. He stayed where he was first and then did his basic throwing knife attack into Gamora, hit her for 1 damage and bled because it was a wild that got through. He then retreated, but has to retreat small because your movement gets reduced to that when you're holding the Skrull Agent, just to make things extra annoying. But that does mean that's how the table stands as we go into cleanup and scoring for the second battle round. Well, the maths here is pretty easy to work out because it's ridiculous. Just like, it's not even a balanced thing between the characters in this instance or the affiliations. Well, maybe a little bit of the affiliations. The Criminal Syndicate affiliation bonus is amazing. But it's just the dice rolls. The dice rolls have just been coming up great for one side and coming up as bad as possible in most instances for the other. The Criminal Syndicate has 2 of the 3 origin bombs and that other one is neutral, so they get 3 victory points for that, and Bullseye is still carrying the Skrull Agent, meaning that as we go into Battle Round 3 with the Guardians going first, it is 10-0, and 3 of them are flipping their card. 2 of them, Rocket, Quill, yeah, 2 of them. It was the Little Raccoon that got the battle round started, and he dropped 6 power on his Hadron Enforcer attack. That's 4 for the attack and 2 to force Enchantress to use 2 defense because she's 2-5 or 2-6, whichever. 5 I think because it's Magneto at 6. Either way, he did that. 7 energy dice against 2 defense dice. How much damage did it do? 2. It did 2 damage. So then he did a basic attack. It also did 2 damage, so that's still 4 damage on Enchantress, and she only gained 1 power from each because she's stunned. So there's some upside. She's got 6 HP on her wounded side, I think. On her health side, I mean. So she's still not taken out, but that was 6 power dropped on 4 damage. That's not that great. Kingpin activated and reminded everybody why he is the Kingpin. He spent 3 power on Hail to the King. It's not Hail to the King baby, is it? No, it's just Hail to the King. Of course it is. On Ronin, which is a 7 physical and includes a throw. Small. So he threw Ronin small before it was completed. All said and done, it did 3 damage and also staggered. So Ronin's getting 1 activation because he has to clear the stagger first. Then for his other proper action, he moved and then spent power on street level negotiations, 2 power, to pick up Gamora and throw her. He threw her medium with that, and she takes 1 damage from the throw, and she smacked into Rocket. And as far as I can tell, you don't get cover on dodge rolls from people being chucked. So he rolled his 2 defense dice, nothing came up, so it's 2 plus 1 damage on her size. She's size 2. She just flattened the raccoon. He is gone. So Gamora activated in the hopes of making up for squashing Rocket Raccoon to death. She moved in to Enchantress and within 1 of the Origin Bombs. She did her Cosmic Assassination attack, and despite Enchantress getting to use her 5 defense, it did 3. It only needed to do 1 or 2, so Enchantress is dazed and won't be getting a turn. She then spent her 1 power to convert the Origin Bomb, and she did, because Enchantress isn't there currently, so just needed 1 success. She also got a skull though, which means that she took 1 damage, and even ignoring the fact that she was bleeding, either way, she's now dazed. She dazed herself. She dazed to get that Origin Bomb. Hopefully it was worth it. Crossbones spun on the spot to stay contesting the Origin Bomb he's next to. Just smacked Quinn twice, don't ask where, and the first one did no damage, the second one got through for 2. So I think he has 3 health left on his wounded side, and now it's back over to Quinn or Ronin. Did I just call him Quinn, not Quill? I think I did. Who cares, he got punched in the nuts twice. So let's just call him Star-Lord then, going ahead, so I don't accidentally not call him Quill. He activated, he went full auto on Taskmaster, rolled really well, a bit too little too late, but still did 4 damage with the damage already on him. That was enough to stun him. So Taskmaster is done for the turn, and we'll be flipping at the end of it. Then, unfortunately, he had no power left to try and convert the Origin Bomb, but he still moved closer to it, just to be in a position of annoyance more than anything else. So now it is over to Bullseye to end the turn for Criminal Syndicate, and then back over to 1 activation Ronin. For Bullseye's turn, all he did was double move back to contesting range of the middle Origin Bomb. The reason for that is because Kingpin's on his wounded side now, the Criminal Syndicate affiliation bonus isn't kicking in because he's not on his healthy side. So despite only having 1 activation, Ronin can move up and attempt to just convert the bomb, and he's got 4 energy defense, so his chances is pretty high. Now that Bullseye is there though, it means he's got to beat at least 2. He still might on 4 dice, so it's just down to him doing that essentially, because he's not going to do any attacks, and if he does convert it, that'll get the Guardians on the scoreboard and it won't seem quite so hopeless. Yeah, hope is dead. Hope is very, very dead. So Ronin, he cleared his stagger, he moved up, he tried to convert the Origin Bomb. What can you do when all the dice rolls are just favouring one team over the other? You can't fight back against that. I don't think I even mentioned, but once he was thrown by Kingpin, he spent the power to judge him, so Kingpin isn't gaining power right now. But, that's how this game has been going. It's unbelievable. So this is a bit of beating a dead horse here at this point, but the exact same thing happened again in the cleanup phase of this round. The Origin Bomb majority is still in the Criminal Syndicate's hand, as is the Skrull Agent on Bullseye. 5 more victory points. As we go into Battle Round 4, the Criminal Syndicate are back with first activation, and it's 15-0. There's no way for the Guardians to pull this back in 2 turns, because even if they get all the victory points on offer for the 2 turns of the game remaining, that gives them 10 victory points, so it would still not be enough. Now, there is the option of tabling the Criminal Syndicate and giving up like a Pyrrhic victory, but that isn't very likely either. So it's going to be a turn 3 into turn 4 concede from the Guardians of the Galaxy, because there's no coming back. That's probably the most one-sided, utterly unfair game of Crisis Protocol I've seen in 30-something matches at least. Ridiculous. And again, like I said at some point during the video, This wasn't down to just, oh, Guardians being a weak affiliation. Criminal Syndicate's affiliation bonus is obviously very, very powerful. It's just dice rolls. It was just every single, well, not every single, not literally, but so many dice rolls were just fantastic for the Criminal Syndicate, and so many of them were hilariously bad. It felt like the Guardians were fighting two enemies on this match. It wasn't just the Criminal Syndicate, it was the dice themselves. And what can you do? The math speaks for itself. Even if they were perfected the rest of the game, they would not have enough to win on points at the end of turn 6. So it is a short one, but what can you do? It's sometimes, we've mentioned this before, people on the internet have talked about this before, the dice in Crisis Protocol are far too swingy. It's the aspect of using d8s, I guess, but this is an oddity. This is not how the dice usually go. Usually there's bad rolls and good rolls on each side, and they kind of balance out, and those are the perfect games where things are close to down to the wire. This was a slaughter, but it doesn't feel like the Criminal Syndicate needed to do anything. The dice determined who was slaughtered, unfortunately. Or fortunately, depending on if you like seeing lots of blood. Either way, the Criminal Syndicate has won. The Guardians concede and retreat. And that's going to do it. I hope you enjoyed either way. It was a slaughter, down to the dice. Look out for more in the future. Thanks for watching. Ta-ta for now.